Welcome to everyone on Father's Day. It is a very special day for me. I just came up with this idea to talk to you only a few days ago, and it came spontaneously. And at that time, I did not know what I was going to talk, but at least the mind did not know what I was going to talk. But this morning, when I woke up, it was all crystal clear about the message that I was going to deliver to you. So I am here in front of you. And I just remembered something. In the early days of his presidency, President Obama gave a Father's Day talk, and I just remembered it. And that's what the divine, or the subconscious, if you don't believe in the divine, wanted me to talk to. And it was maybe in the first or second or the third year of his presidency. He talked about the absentee fathers. And then the message was so compelling, and then I cried. There are so many absentee fathers. And on this Father's Day, Obama said that, please return to your home. Please. And take care of your children. It was a very emotionally charged message. And I could relate to that because my father passed away when I was still young, and I cried. And I did not cry at the time of his death. But then as the reality began to, strike me, and then I began to feel the absence of my father. So that is a very important message, on a Father's Day to remember. Now, that is not the message that I am going to give you. It is a much more deeper message. The father may be present or absent, but still you carry your father. Where? In your DNA. And if your father had been one who is not responsible, and you still carry his DNA, you are thinking his thoughts. You are thinking your father's thought, your mother's thought as well, or grandfather's thought. So the body, your father lives through your body. That you cannot deny, because it is a scientific fact. Not only the body is living through your body, father's body is living through your body, but his mind is also living through your mind, because your mind is not different from your father's mind at the DNA level. So what are you going to do? But unfortunately, most of the people have been forced to live the father's mind, although the father's mind or accomplishments or his mindset is not that great. Mediocre. Most of them. So what are you going to do with that? So that is the key message for this Father's Day. That's why I came up with this ancient Vedic technology called soul genetics. You are not succeeding in spite of you. You are wanting to succeed, but you are not able to succeed. Why? It is because of the genes that you have inherited from your father or grandfather. This is a scientific fact. The genes control you. There are codons which codes, 64 codons, that are responsible for your body, for your mind, for your behavior, for your diseases, for your health. All these things are controlled by these codons. So what are you going to do with it? This is where the ancient cultures have came up with this technology. In the Indian context, it is called a Tarpanam, and I call it as soul genetics. Just as you inherit the biological genes, you also inherit soul genes. Okay, the biology, even a DNA, is inert without the soul. Who is activating your DNA? It doesn't activate by itself. Who is activating an atom? There is a spirit, there is a soul. That's why the soul genetics is very important. So if you want to change the father within you, the biological father within you, then you have to do something that is the soul genetics, that is this particular technology called Tarpanam technology. And I have many videos on that, and we have been doing this service for quite some time. Then these, unless you change radically the father within you, the grandfather within you, because in most cases, as I just mentioned, those programs aren't good. We definitely have to change, and that change takes takes place at the level of the soul. That's why the Tarpanam is very important. Now, and I want to do from this Father's Day onwards, I want to do it differently. I have come up with a Father's Day challenge, and the challenge is from this Father's Day onwards to the next Father's Day, okay, within a 1-year period, the challenge is to change a certain area of your life. For instance, finance, because that is the biggest problem of everyone, including people living in the United States. It will be it is the richest country of the world, but still people have problems. Most people here have money problems. But not to think about other countries where they are economically poor. So that is one challenge. There is a challenge, the money challenge. Then there is relationship. These are very important. Or a health one. You can choose any one of these areas for this challenge to remain focused. And then focus on it for 1 year. And then the focus takes place at 2 levels. At the soul genetics level, there is this Tarpanam. There are Tarpanam specialists, and they need more training. That's why when I go to India, I'm going to train them well. Okay, and you need to be trained also, because what is the bottom, the most fundamental level for creating the change is getting the focus. We are unfocused. We think that we are focused. We are not focused at all. If the priest who is doing this is not focused, it is not going to be very successful. I'll give you an example. I am not prejudiced towards any religion. I embrace all of the religions. Religion is a very powerful force, but it will become only negative when it becomes an institution and fundamentalistic. These are the two negative sides to the religion. It should not become fundamentalistic, saying that when I was a graduate student doing my PhD, people say that the graduate students will talk among themselves about what is a religion and what is a cult. Religion is what I practice, cult is what you practice. Religion is my religion. What I practice is religion, and everything else is cult. And it may be and it may appear to be something, a joke, but it is not a joke, but that is the truth. Because what is really happening is when you go and look at every religious person, he says, if my religion is right, my God is God. What about your God? He is perhaps a demigod or Satan. Well, that's not acceptable, at least in the 20th century. I have no problem in accepting your God is God, but my God is also my God. And people don't have that. Until we come to that level, there will not be peace of mind for this world. The people will be fight. The people belonging to religion, different religions will fight amongst themselves. Well, I don't want to sidetrack. I want to come back to what I wanted to say. The other day, I was watching Benny Hinn doing a service, and a few people from a family came to the stage, and then they said, well, we have this and this and this and this problems. I'm on a wheelchair, and my son is sick, my wife is sick, everybody is sick. And I have been praying, but nothing is happening. Well, what can I do? And it was a challenge for him. And he prayed. And he writes in his book. And the prayer, he did not know what to do, because this is a real challenge. There are thousands of people watching him. And he knelt down and prayed. He knelt down and prayed. And the prayer was answered. Now, I go to another scenario. This is at least a priest or a religious man praying for someone. What about a very mundane person like Conrad Hilton? Conrad Hilton was born poor. He did not have even a reading desk when he was growing up. And but then, to make a long story short, he was building his first hotel, but he did not have the money to pay the workers, the construction workers working there. And it happened to him many, many times. And then he writes in his book, everybody should write his book, Be My Guest. Is a book that he wrote that it's available for free in all Hilton hotels. And he writes time and again, whenever this happened, that he was not able to pay his workers or his employees, then he went and knelt down before the Lord. So I have given two examples. One, a pastor praying, and then a businessman praying. They are the same. So what is required is the focus. The focus is very important. If there is no focus, nothing is going to happen. So is focus a matter of faith? No, it is not. Focus is not a matter of faith. What is it? It is a technology. We are living in the scientific and technological age where science has contributed a lot, that I am here in San Diego, I am reaching out the entire world. How? It is because of this technology, thanks to Google, that it is free and then everybody can get it free. I can use it free and you can get it free, and that's great. And it is technology. So focus is fundamental. whether a priest is praying or a businessman is praying, it is the focus that is getting the results. Now I'm going to bring a scientist whom I admire, a scientist whom I think is the most intelligent person currently living on this planet. He's a scientist. His name is Ray Kurzweil. He has a university called the Singularity University, and I strongly recommend you read his books. And he is working on a project which you may want to know, to get rid of all diseases in the body. How can you do that? The project is to send robots in the bloodstream that it will kill all the disease-creating bacteria and viruses. I'm oversimplifying it, but those of you who want to know more about it, there are a lot of videos and books that he has written on this subject. You can go and take a look at them. And that's how we can really create a very healthy body without diseases. So science is going in the right direction. Now, I want to come back to what I was talking about, focus. Focus is very important. That's part of the Father's Day challenge that I'm going to propose to you. We are not succeeding because we are not focused, because focus is not within our capacity, within our ability to do it. Non-focus is our second nature. We think that we are focused, and we are not focused at all. It is something that has to be cultivated at through through steps, which, for instance, Patanjali has steps to build up your focus. We remain unfocused now. Now, what can focus do? What science has to say about focus? I'm going to read a passage from Ray Kurzweil's book. The book was published quite some time ago, copyright 1999. This is the time the book was written. It's called The Age of Spiritual Machines. And a note to the reader with the very first speech, and he says, as a photon wends its way through an arrangement of glass pans and mirrors, its path remains ambiguous. It essentially takes every possible path available to it. This ambiguity remains until observation by a conscious observer forces the particle to decide which path it had taken. Then the uncertainty is resolved. Okay. Then the uncertainty is resolved at the particle level. The particle is ambiguous until the observer decides. This is the contemporary thinking among quantum physicists, that you create your reality. You create your reality through your focus. Then the uncertainty of the photon comes to an end because you have made a decision. That is how powerful is consciousness. Until then, everything remains ambiguous for the photon. So who breaks the ambiguity and then says, look, this is it, and then make it certain? So we want to make our lives certain. We cannot remain in the level of uncertainty. And the focus is very important for that. And focus, that's why I'm just on my way to India. I was not going to go. I don't do well with the heat, but I'm still going to go as soon as possible to train some of the priests. But I'm going to tell them, look, the way you do your job should have the focus. You have to intercede. You're interceding on behalf of people who come to you. And if you don't focus and then create the necessary empathy, empathy is very important. And then do it like a job, it is not going to work. So you have to really take your job seriously. That's how we can guarantee results for the people, because I'm trying to present all these ritual technologies as science. So I'm taking the readings, EEG readings, before and after the fire lab is done. We are right now analyzing that. So I put the priest, okay, what is your state of mind? I'm going to take the readings of your brain before you start, and how is it after you start? Because during the process, we cannot take the readings because you'll be chanting, and then the reading will not, that will mess up the reading. So we are analyzing that, and I don't have the results yet, but I'm sure we can find out whether or not the priest has been really putting his energy, or he was thinking about something else. So I want to be really provide a service to people that works, so that so that we can reasonably be certain, so that there won't be any uncertainty about it. Okay? So he has to be focused on the one level and be, and have empathy for the person who is coming there with the problem of, I don't have a job, I don't have this problem, I don't have that problem, I don't have this, that, that has to be fixed. How can you fix that? You can fix it only when there is focus. So the focus has to take place at two levels. One is on the level of the person involved, the client involved. The client who doesn't have a job or money has to really focus attention on his problem. And then once he focuses, then he will be able to go deep and find out what's wrong with his approach. Then he has to focus on the solution or the effect that he wants. That's more important than focusing on the problem. What is the effect that you want? Even if you don't focus on the problem, just focus on the result, because you are the observer is the observed. The observer decides everything. The observed is the observer. The observer is one who decides. That is a scientific truth. In metaphysical truth in religions is that you create your own reality. So on two levels, it has to be done. So my Father's Day's message for you is that from today onwards till the next Father's Day, you have to at least focus on your money or your relationship or your health. And you have a responsibility. And what is your responsibility? To learn the focus to create the money you want, the relationship you want. That is the effect. And then also the health you want, or whatever other things you have with your project or a business or a promotion in job, whatever you want. You have to focus. And the focus is very important. It is not simply saying that I prayed. Yeah, that is not going to work. The true prayer is that you come to a point where you don't any prayer anymore. You don't do the prayer anymore. What is happening is not that you are talking to God or the subconscious or the universe, whatever you want to call it, but the God or the subconscious or the universe is talking to you. And how do you know? You will know. Well, this is not me. And how that happens? Because you come to the level of quietness, stillness. And in that stillness, your ego dies, your mind dies. But then there is a message that comes from, and that comes from a different focus, not the mind focus. The mind is being used to convey that to you, but in reality, the focus comes from a deeper part of your consciousness. That you have to do it. And if you don't do it, and then you just say, I went and prayed, and then I went to the church or mosque or temple, and then I prayed to this God. I prayed the priest. I paid the priest, and I came back, and nothing happened. The problem is you are not doing the job right, and the priest is not doing the right job either, because both of them need to know that the focus is the one that is going to make it certain from ambiguity. Our life is ambiguous now, uncertain now, but quantum physics says you are the one who decides. The observer decides the path and the place where it finally settles down. I want to repeat it. The observer, which is you, are responsible for deciding the path and deciding the place where you want to finally end up, which is the effect. And I want the same kind of commitment on the part of the interceder, the person who is representing you, which is the priest. And if these things can be regulated and monitored, which I am going to do, I'm going to regulate and I'm going to monitor. So it will be a program. I want to develop a program. Just came this morning that I want to ensure that it is a science. It is a science. By the end of by the next Father's Day, I want to make sure for myself and for the world who wants to evaluate the success of the program, and also for the individual that it works. Okay. Now, it's 1 year is a reasonable period of time to find success. So, and I'm sure it's not going to take 1 year. And if it is observed properly and done properly, it can be any time within the year. So, but 1 year is the optimal time that I think that is necessary for research purpose. So it will be a pilot program for money, relationship, or health. Though I invite all of you to participate in this research study. And I want to make this affordable to everyone. So I think a couple of $100 would be, there will be 2 or 3 levels according to what you can afford and what you want to accomplish. A level, at least 2 level program. One is a monthly $200 one, a monthly of $500 one for a year, and then monitor yourself. And then the burden is on on both sides. One, and I will be monitoring personally what is happening and training people also. So I will, along with this program, I will give a video, an audio track of how to focus. And that audio track that you have to listen to, and while you focus on the effect that you want to create. And you can create anything that you want to create, that you have incredible energy to focus, which is inside of you. But we are not using that. And that is a scientific fact now. Now, in this program, there are two components. One is the Father within you, invisibly in your genes, and soul genetics, which is called Tarpanam, will address this problem of purifying your DNA or the soul. Now, we don't have data to do or to support that what happens to the DNA, because it is not in our budget to do a DNA analysis of it. But that is one of my manifestations, that I should have my own university where I want to study this Tarpanam. I want to study this fire labs. And so that is going to be my manifestation. But I want to prove to the world these things do work. Unless it is scientifically proved, it is not going to be accepted by the world. I won't myself accept it, because I am the one, if it doesn't work, I am the one who will first come and say, well, we tried this and it did not work. But up until now, from anecdotal data that we have, it has worked reasonably well, more than reasonably well. So the challenge for you, and challenge, it's also a challenge for me, and also a challenge for the priests who are working on, to come up with a system, a program and a system that will evaluate that, the success of the program. So those of you who are, now I'm going to take only a limited number of people for purposes of so many things like that need to be controlled. The priests have to be the right people, and then the staff to monitor that. So these are all there are several constraints in order to address this constraint, and then manage the project, which is the pilot program. I have to limit the number of participants. So it will be like first come, first served. There will be 2 levels, one at $200, which is affordable for everyone. And that the services will include the fire lab and the Tarpanam, the 2 services on a monthly basis, custom made, and for 1 year. Okay, those who I want the people who are really committed to this. I commit to making an audio track for you, how to focus, that will come along with the program, which you will use on a daily basis, and also at certain times that we will recommend that you use it for a longer period of time. Okay. And so those of you who want to join the program and also committed, if you are not committed, please don't do it, because it's a waste of time, waste of your money, and then that's not going to work. So this is a program that I want to prove to the world that it works. And then this is my Father's Day message. Then those who want to join the program, just send an email to the Pillai office at pillaicenter.com. Is that the one? And then it will be strictly based on first come, first served, because of the several constraints that we have, the staff, the priests, and then the monitoring. We have to limit this. And I want to do it as a research study to see the efficacy of this program. And this is my Father's Day message. I thank the Divine for giving this opportunity, or using me as an instrument for change, because I really do care for people. Again, I just want to go back to where I started with the President Obama's message: absentee fathers, please return. And once this is done, all these things are done, not only the physical father returns, but the spiritual father also returns. That's very important. God bless.